By the way, your go-to dictionary, Natasha.
So again, you have to constantly ask yourself why. For example, if I need something simplistic, and especially it was very kind of relevant to me, some years ago when I was working with all the students in elementary, of course, Cambridge is nice, right? Because
Yeah.
Cambridge is very in a very straightforward way without much sophisticated information, right? So Cambridge is fine. Now Cambridge is a bit different. It has included this corpus section, so now
Yeah.
it's a bit different. But
Yeah,
some
I
time
saw
ago,
those. Hmm.
if you want to have something a little bit more sophisticated, and if you want to have some more context, you can go to Longman Dictionary. I love it, just because it's always have this corpus section, yeah, and it's very elaborate. There are a lot of sentences, different contexts, so it's quite nice. And if you want to have something super advanced, then Collins does the trick, I believe, because I love it that it has this kind of multifaceted approach to defining a word. They have a lot of context. They even show this frequency graph, right? And you can see whether this word is popular now or not really. So this is a very nice thing. Again, Cambridge is something basic, Longman a little bit more advanced, and Collins is quite sophisticated. I can put it even this way.
Agreed. And also I like the way it defines words, because they, for example, say if a horse or a person trots, it means they walk taking small steps. You see, so you see who can trot while
Exactly.
looking up this definition, for example. You see how many likes you're getting. Yay.
Oh,
So much support. Yeah, because they have a bit of a delay, and it means that they're liking you right now. Great. Awesome. You know what? Also, I think it's important to make sure. Yeah, you mentioned corpus. Amazing. We even had corpus na linguistica at uni. By the way, did you have this subject?
I love it. I didn't have the subject, but I believe that corpus linguistics has kind of made a breakthrough in the way language is taught and the way language is studied as a subject matter, because it has actually revolutionized the way we approach it.
Yeah.
And by the way, it has ruined all the boundaries between
Mm-hmm.
us being native speakers who are kind of, deprived of this chance. Now we are not deprived.
Yeah.
And we no longer ask this question, can I say it this way? Can I put it this way? Just go to corpus and search it.
Yeah, check it out. Go figure. Yeah.
Yeah.
How about Ngram Viewer? Do you use it? This Google Books, what's the English tool? Ngram Viewer with also frequency charts.
Yeah, absolutely. I love it just because it shows the relevance, because sometimes you might put a chunk in some corpus. Okay, it gives you context, but you're not really certain what kind of context these are. Maybe this is
Mhm.
something dated, right? And Google Ngram Viewer does show the frequency. I really love that. I really love it that it traces the tendencies, right? And I do love this nice distinction between American and
Yes.
British variants.
Yes. You go for British more, right?
Yeah, I teach for British exams. That's why I decided that this would be a bit more
Yeah,
logical.
and the way you speak and your pronunciation, off the charts. Speaking of Ngram Viewer, also it's important to notice that you mentioned frequency and context. Sometimes colleagues can't find where the context are. If you scroll down a little, you have those years, right? So you click the year, like the exact year you want to explore the context in, and it gives you like a plethora of different resources. You can even click the link and it will take you to a book with the expansive context. How awesome is that? And you can take a screenshot from that one and gap it. And that could be a great activity for retrieval. Apart from Twitter, by the way, do you use Twitter? Because I'm in love.
Yeah, the interesting thing is that when I was doing my master's research, I used Twitter as a source of material, but then you started talking about Twitter as a source of learning. I said, come on, that's brilliant. Now I do use Twitter as well. So it's fantastic, really.
I love it so much. And again, I use it just because I can't use Instagram for that purpose. Instagram does not give you, doesn't have a tool for looking for contexts. You cannot just type it in there and it will give you like all the posts with the same phrase. Hence the Twitter. I also started using this in 2016. I was like, oh, that's such a tool, such a tool. I literally have my own database with tweets, like more than 2K tweets, and sometimes I'm like, let's take a memory lane down the phrases I
Exactly,
learned.
exactly. And by the way, just sorry for jumping in, but I have the same thing on my smartphone. Maybe it's not about Twitter only, but I've already told about this photo of mine. I just have these nice screenshots with vocabulary. I can watch films, so I see I have screenshots from films with characters using something nice. Then I have something from dictionaries, right? So it's quite packed here. And I just flick through them from time to time and revise some nice chunks, and that's fine. I believe that's really, really
Awesome.
effective.
Screenshots, right? By the way, Ella says, how do you usually use Twitter? How do you use Twitter, Natasha? Because I'm sure that Ella knows my way.
Yeah, so the thing is that when I was doing my research, I was doing research in political discourse, and I had to analyze these tweets and comments that people leave to talk about elections, US elections 2020. I was just searching for some, sarcastic phrases because I was doing research in sarcasm, and I just spotted some really great chunks that they use, and okay, I need that, I must steal that right now. And I would make a screenshot and just memorize it, then come back to it later to revise it, then again come back to it later to revise it. And now I can use, again, following your example, I can use Twitter as a corpus or something like that. For example, I need to check some chunk, I put it into the search line, and I see the tweets that feature it. And if I see a lot of tweets, I know that it's frequent, then it's worth focusing on, that this is it.
By the way, also a tiny, let's put it that way, trick. If you leave the page for at least an hour, you will see the frequency, you will see the new the new tweets building up, and you'll see how frequent that is, especially phrases. You'll see like 10 new tweets. It means that, come on, people use it all the time. And also, you see, it has to be succinct, the tweet. So that's why it's interesting to see how natives go about using their language and incorporating just a few words into one little tweet. Any other resources you use for, like, literally rummaging through chunks?
Yeah, so you see, the thing is that I'm a huge fan of Ludwig Guru. Have you heard of it?
Oh, I know.
love that. And the thing, I just worship it and I swear by this. And the thing is that basically we have to understand what a corpus is. Basically, a corpus is a research tool. So it's not aimed at learners, it's aimed at researchers. That's why it can be a bit impenetrable, especially if you go to the National Corpus of British English. I mean, it gives you just a lot of sentences taken from God knows what, right? And you can't make head or tail of what is happening, right? But Ludwig is semi-corpus, which means that it has been designed for learners, right? So that's why the interface is a bit more user-friendly. It's one thing. The second thing is that they feature only language from reputable sources. I mean, the BBC, The Economist, The Independent, all that stuff. While an ordinary corpus, it doesn't filter out anything, right? So it just rolls out whatever, and then it is the researcher who sets some, settings or restrictions or filters and goes, like, depending on the research purposes. But Ludwig does everything for you. Also, Ludwig has a lot of nice functions apart from searching. You can translate. You can compare frequency, you can compare appropriacy. It's also very, very nice too. But the problem, maybe it's not a problem, but the thing about Ludwig is that it features these resources that I've just mentioned, like The Independent, the New York Times, the Guardian. And the conclusion to be drawn is that it's quite formal. Maybe not super formal, but it's formal and written. Right? So, and we might assume that this might be not something we need for speaking, right? So it's predominantly for writing. And when it comes to speaking, I really love the resource, again, that you've recommended, Do People Say, right? Based on Reddit. I think that Do People Say does more or less the same thing as we do with Twitter on our own. So it just searches some posts published on Reddit, which is something like Twitter, but a little bit more
informal language.
Informal language, right? The way people speak, actually. Yeah, so that's why we can say that if you need something less formal for speaking, you better go to either Twitter or to Do People Say. If you need something for writing, then Ludwig is like top notch. Another thing is this one, Youglish. Like, do you use it?
I mean, yeah, sure, everyone does. I think these days it's like a go-to resource.
Yeah, and I love Youglish not only because it features, some language, again, spoken, less formal, but if you want to hone your pronunciation, it's a must. Why? Because we can check the pronunciation of a word in a dictionary, that's for sure, but you remember that there is such a thing as connected speech, and unfortunately, the dictionaries can't help you with that. But Youglish can, so if you put a chunk in Youglish, it will feature some YouTube speakers saying this. and you can just imitate this and practice not only vocabulary, but also pronunciation,
Oh,
which
yeah.
is really, really valuable. This is
Yeah, 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 really. For some reason, when we think of Youglish, we think of context, vocabulary, but pronunciation should be factored in here, there. Yeah, you can literally like put in a phrase, look up many contexts. Also, UK, Australian, yeah, US English, even Canadian English, even Russian. You can even look for context for Russian. It could be your like corpus. German, Italian, Chinese. It's getting bigger and bigger. I think English now is like the top dog. Yeah, when it comes to.
Exactly.
And also one more thing that I mentioned was if you sign up, you can store those contacts there on the website. You can like save them. I think it's awesome, you know?
Exactly.
And
Absolutely. That's fantastic.